Welcome to the Good Neighbors of Texas podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. I'm your host, Ron Holt. Welcome to episode number 9 of the Good Neighbors of Texas podcast. Today we have our good neighbor, Bradley Lingold with Redbird Law here. It's a pleasure being with you today, Bradley.
Likewise. Good to see you, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, on your website, you say you're an experienced, dedicated attorney ready to help with all your legal needs, committed to providing your clients with the highest quality of legal services, and you're here to help navigate them through the complexities of estate planning, probate, real estate, and LLCs. But I'd like you to unpack that a little more than just that one statement, what it is that you do, and we're going to get into the heart behind your practice. I'm really looking forward to that. So why don't you let's begin by telling us a little more about your practice, Bradley.
Absolutely. It'd be my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on this interview. I'm excited to do it.
Thank you.
So we're Redbird Law, and I've been licensed since 2013 and practicing here in Bastrop for, I don't even know, but I opened this business 4.5 years ago. And it was just the law office of Bradley Lingold for a while. And then this last year, I incorporated it and turned it into Redbird Law.
That's great.
A lot of people wonder, why the Redbird? Well, there's one hanging over our head right now. I like Redbirds, always have. They remind me of my great-grandmother. And I didn't even know the story about them being messengers, which I've heard a recent, there's a song by Casey Musgraves where she sings Cardinal and talks about a lost friend that comes back to visit her, or she imagines it so in the form of a redbird.
Wow.
And so there's that connection with people that have gone on before us, because a lot of my practice has to do with older people dying, people planning for their death, and arranging their property in such a way that it passes seamlessly to their loved ones.
Wow.
With little heartache. And so then it's a gift from one generation to the next and sets the next generation up for success. And so my practice is in the corner of law called reptile. There's a section of the bar called reptile, okay? Reptile. So the Texas bar has different sections. The family law section, the litigation section, and reptile, real estate, probate, trust law, okay? And so that's what I do. I do real estate. I draft deeds. I draft easements. Surveyors send me their clients and say, okay, this person's dividing their property. I'm the one that makes the partition deed, okay? So if it's real estate drafting, I'm your guy. I do LLCs, which is really kind of a separate area of the law, but there's so much crossover because most LLCs often involve the ownership of land. And so an LLC is simply an asset management protection scheme where you separate out the asset from your individual liabilities and vice versa. So it's an asset protection thing. There's also a lot of tax savings that one can realize by having an LLC. And so I do that. I do probate. Probate is when somebody passes away and now there's title to some asset, real estate, a bank account, an LLC that needs to be updated to its new owners. Okay, the probate is the Latin word to prove, and it comes from we're going to prove this person's will is actually their will, and so sometimes we have to go to the court and prove up a will. That's what probate means. Sometimes there's a trust. We don't have to do that. Sometimes there's transfer on death deeds that we've done, and we don't need to do probate. There's affidavits of heirship for folks that didn't have a will but owned property. There's all different ways of handling a probate. I also do estate planning, and this is where we avoid probate. We come in ahead of time and say, I want this done. I don't want my folks fighting over stuff. Let's plan it out.
You probably prefer that over the others, for sure, right?
I love all of it, but there's something special about being able to set people up for success. I love efficiency. And I say, if we can, it's just something about my nature, whether I'm constructing something in the backyard or writing a letter, I love it to be sharp and tight and just hold together. And I can do that in estate planning. I can do that in limited ways in everything that I do, but sometimes the cow's already out the barn. So we've got to be efficient getting the cow rounded up. But if we can do it ahead of time, it's just a beautiful thing. And then people call me after someone dies and say, well, what do we need to do? And I say, nothing. Bury them,
my goodness.
Grieve, and go on with your life and call me again if anything pops up. So that's what I do.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. Being able to give people peace of mind, right? And having those things taken care of before it really, it's a challenge anyway, right? They're at that juncture in their life, and to have that area of their life managed and efficiency playing out, right?
Absolutely.
Reward.
So one thing that we try to avoid is going to probate, right?
Yeah.
Probate is not that bad in Bastrop County. Okay. It used to be $3,500, and a month and a half later, we're done with probate. This is if your family's not fighting. Okay. And going to court, I used to go to court a lot, and Judge Poppy was the county judge at the time, and he would officiate over the probate hearings. There would be ministry that would happen in the courtroom. It was cathartic. People would come there. They would have this experience where they'd get to walk through their husband's passing. They'd cry, and then we'd be done. And I saw that as a value, but I've never had one person say I would choose that over avoiding it. Mm-hmm. Even though as good as that is, and what a blessing it was, it's still better to be able to grieve privately among your friends and not to have to go to court to bring it all up again in public.
Oh, yes. Wow. That's good. Well, tell our listeners about how your journey began in the first place. What inspired you to specialize in this specific area of law?
Well, I mentioned a minute ago my great-grandmother, I called her Nana, Mary Susan Caton Lingold. She was born in 1899. And fulfilled her wish of living in 3 centuries when she died in 2002.
3 centuries, wow.
Yeah. And imagine the things she saw change during her lifetime. She was born in southern Alabama and moved to Texas in the 1920s, and ended her life in Crockett. She lived in Crockett, Texas. And that's where my father was born, where my grandfather was born in Abinger. She was, in some ways, my best friend. She taught me how to fish, play cards. She had a cabin on the lake in Crockett, and we would go there and spend a week or two in the summer and, go down for a weekend here. And she was just amazing. I loved her. Even when I was in college, I would come home from the University of Texas with my friends, and we'd go to Crockett and pick up Nana and go to the cabin. And it'd be a bunch of 20-year-olds and a 95-year-old. And we'd be drinking beer, and then sometimes we'd drink some buttermilk with her. So
you can't have that without buttermilk, right?
Making greens and catching fish. And so I had this old person. I mean, she was old when I was born, and she was old my whole life.
Wow.
And I think I developed an affinity for old people through my relationship with her. And you don't always understand things or see them as they're happening, but later you look back and you see patterns. I was an acolyte at Trinity Episcopal Church in Marshall, and I might be the last 3 years of high school before I left Frost, and I was the senior acolyte. And it just so happened that the priest would ask me, and I'd get out of school to do it, to be the crucifer at the graveside services.
Wow.
So I would do all the funerals, okay?
Yeah.
And so I had this kind of like experience with the funeral directors and the priest and the old people and people grieving. And so looking back, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a pattern. So I think I started general practice like every attorney does. And I've heard other people say in small towns, you have to do everything. And then when I took this place over 4.5 years ago, that's a good story there, but I slowly developed into what I really wanted to do. And started saying no to other things. I don't do any litigation at all. Okay. And the stuff I do and litigation are kind of like oil and water.
Yeah.
To do litigation, you're going to depositions, you've got trials, and you've got to stop everything and focus on that thing for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that and draft a real estate document in a timely manner.
Yes.
I need to get it. People want a deed. I should get it back to them tomorrow. They came in for estate planning. I don't want them calling me 2.5 months from now. Hey, are you done with my stuff yet?
Yeah.
I've been at a trial. And so it's really hard to do both. And so over time, I just developed, this is what I want to do. I don't like that other stuff.
Yeah.
This is, I'm getting to meet people. I'm getting to help people. I'm not dealing with all the anger and the people say, man, I hope I never need. And they find out I'm a lawyer. I'm like, well, I'm not that kind of lawyer.
You're not that kind. I love too the fact that I think what I'm hearing is the heart behind your practice is you really are preserving the dignity of older age too, right? I mean, when you grew up with an older grandmother, right?
Absolutely.
And what that instilled in you is a healthy respect, but a dignity around those people of that age, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the things I found troubling about litigation. It was hard to attack people and show the bad side of things and respect their dignity. I mean, I had trouble doing it. I know there's probably people out there that can do it, but for me, it was really hard to do. And I'm in a situation now where I don't have to worry about that, and I can uplift people. My mother was telling I was on the phone with my mom yesterday, and we were joking, and she didn't know this secret. We were talking about when Nana's daughter, not my grandmother, but my great uncle's wife, Aunt Eloise. Okay, she lived in the same town in Crockett with Nana. And at a certain age, she was the one that was kind of taking care of her and helping her, because Nana would get stuff in the mail and she'd send a check. Oh, yeah, I want that. One time, this, according to family legend, there were actually 20 mules that were delivered to her house, this 90-year-old woman's house. But she was helping people out. Oh, yes, I'll take that. She bought a bunch of CDs and all she had was a record player. She had it sitting up on the record player asking, honey, can you help me make it work? I said, so she's getting old like everybody else. And I remember Aunt Eloise called the DPS, or however you do it, the DMV, and somehow got them to take Nana's driver's license away.
Oh.
Okay. This is something that needs to happen at some point, because she did one time. She said it was just a scratch. She said she got in a little wreck. It was just a little scratch. And then we went outside and looked at the car. And the whole side of the car was gone. What did you hit, Nana? Well, I hit a train.
Oh, no.
It was a parked train, but it was still a train. She had got down in the depot somehow and got turned around there in Marshall. Anyway, her driver's license was taken away. And I was a little upset about it. I was 20-something at the time. And I was like, that's not right. How dare they take my Nana's drive? Because she was a very independent woman. And she lamented the fact that it's terrible to get old. You can't go and do like you used to. And so I'd go pick her up on my way back from Austin going to Marshall. And I'd say, Nana, do you want to drive? And I'd let her get in the driver's seat of my Ford Explorer, and she'd drive us back to Marshall. And I never told anybody, but I told my mom last night, and she couldn't believe it. Nana's been dead since 20 years, but she's like, oh, no, you did. And I said, yes, I did. But I love empowering people. Older people are just like young people. And sometimes at the margins, we don't think of them that they do have dignity. They have rights, and they need to be respected. And especially with old people, I mean, all the wisdom. I mean, they're due honor. And it's only right to not only honor them and respect them, but to learn from them and to absorb the beauty of their life experience and to be encouraged by that. I get so much strength from being around folks that have made it.
Wonderful.
I love it.
We've got to celebrate that for sure. Can you tell us about any myths or misconceptions you hear about in your area of practice? That might be interesting.
Well, I mentioned some earlier, the whole, I hope I never need to see you. There's different types of lawyers. There's some that'll do everything. There's some that are really good at this thing. There's some that, and one of the good thing about being in the community is I know which ones do what well. And so people can ask me, and I love helping people out, referring people. I've got this type of situation. Who should I call? Oh, you want to call this person, or do you live in Elgin? This person. And so I don't do everything. I do this thing. And it's really important to find an attorney that does the thing that you want done. And I'm saying that if an attorney says I can do it, they won't do a good job. But sometimes you get a better product when you're talking to somebody who specializes. And that's, like I said, in a small town, there's still plenty of people that can do a lot of things really well. But we do want to find the right fit for you. If you got a real estate issue and it's litigation, I know who to send you to. If there's a family law matter, I'm recommending this person. And that's a big myth, I think.
That's good. I'm here also, what I'm hearing from you, Bradley, is that what you do really well, you stay in your lane, but you're well connected too. And that's important, right? You're comfortable with surrounding yourself with the strength of others. What I'm hearing.
Absolutely. And that gives so much value to me and to my clients. And and vice versa. The whole community. I'm a member of the Bar Association. We just put on a wonderful play. We do one every year. David Bragg, our elder statesman, writes a play about a history that happened in Bastrop County.
Wow.
This year it was Rockney versus Red Rock, the feud between the Catholics and the Protestants. It was called the shooting of Clara Groman. And this happened in the 30s. And what was amazing was her, and there was never a trial. So there was this, everyone knew who did it, but there was never an indictment that was issued. And some of her grandchildren, people that even knew her, were in the audience.
Wow.
And felt vindicated when the audience, the jury, returned a guilty verdict or an indicted verdict.
Wow.
And so being a part of that community, the judge was there, the sheriff was there acting in the play. Yeah, the judge was the judge. The sheriff was the bailiff.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, and the other attorneys, the district attorney is an attorney in Elgin. And so it was all attorneys that were doing it. And when somebody and you can make that phone call, or you just have an understanding. It's one thing to note how to do it, and it's another to understand why it does it the way it does, why it works. And when you get to that level, and I'm still not there yet all the way, but I've grown so much in that, and I feel like I can give my clients so much more value when I'm talking about a subject that I really know, and that includes go talk to this person.
That's amazing.
Because they really know it.
That's amazing. Sounds like a lot of fun. Now, speaking of fun, it's interesting. You have a lot of things that you do enjoy in your free time, right? And when you're not practicing law, what is it? What are some interesting things or hobbies that you like to get involved with?
The first thing I got to tell you is I have 7 children. So it's never a dull moment at my house. The oldest is 15 and the youngest is 2. And so we're having a lot of fun there at the house, whether it's with an inflatable pool or going to the Colorado River. I like to swim. You hear that. I love dancing with my wife. We went to Waterston Dance Hall on Saturday and ended up at 602, and nothing like dancing with the woman you love.
Keeps you young.
I also brought my harmonica. I found this in my mother's barn, which I had forgotten I even knew how to play.
That's amazing.
And I thought I'd play y'all a little 30-second tune.
Yeah. I like that. Now, how many keys can you have? This is a very unusual harmonica. I wish our listeners could see what I'm seeing here. It's like, what is it? 6 different keys you can play in.
6 in 1. And and I this was my mother's. She got when she was 20 years old from some family friends in Memphis who had went to Germany and brought this back. She told me the story recently. I didn't know it. And it's got 6 keys on there. All the ones you'd expect, G, F, C, A, D, and it's a lot of fun to play because you can, whatever key you're feeling, you can play that key. If you're feeling a kind of F, you can play F, and it's pretty cool.
I love it. I love it. So you play that often, right? Just kind of soothe your music for the troubled soul sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah. Early in the morning, in the evening especially, I'll just pick it up, and I don't normally play a song. I just play. Yeah. And whatever I'm feeling, I feel like I mentioned this earlier. I feel like there's a music or a song for each moment, and it's interesting how something will just come out that fits the dusk of Wednesday evening. Or as a morning song or a midday song. So absolutely, I'm playing it when I can, and I love the harmonica because it's portable.
Yes,
just pick it up.
I love it. Love it. What else do you do for fun?
Well, like I said, I love to swim. That's probably if during the summer in Texas, I'm always like, you're not hot if you're wet. and I grew up. There was a pool down the street, and I love natural water even better than I love pools. So we go to the Colorado River here. We'll take a trip in Barton Springs. My daughter had a soccer tournament in San Marcos not too long ago. Wow. So we were in the San Marcos River. That's fun for me, is getting wet and swimming, floating the river, just going down there and taking a cooler and maybe the canopy, maybe taking the grill and cooking some stuff on the bank. And just, enjoying life.
One thing I noticed too, and I know then our listeners can only hear it right now, but we're going to be doing a video in just a little bit and capturing the video of you sitting at your desk. And one thing I'm taken back by is right behind you, you're sitting there, you have a wall full of all expression from all of your family, your children, and you have their pictures and scribblings and things that are very colorful, very delightful to me being a family man myself, but that must bring you a lot of joy too.
Absolutely. I mean, that's number one. That's why I started off with my wife and my 7 children, what I do for fun. I mean, I'm so blessed when I'm at home, just being with a 2-year-old is greater than being at the Louvre. It's better than any concert.
Yeah.
She's smiling, she's making faces, she's playing, she's sad, and it's just amazing just to be around children. And this is our last child, and so I'm entering into that age where they're all getting older, and I'm not having any more, and I'm going to have to wait till grandchildren before I get to be around babies again. But we've had a good long run. But babies are amazing. I mean, people are amazing. Yeah. And that's what I love. I know one of the questions you're going to ask me, we talked about is, what do you love most about your practice? And it's the people. It's the people. Getting to meet people. I've heard so many wonderful stories of people's life experiences, that seeing them interact with their adult children in front of me or their siblings. I mean, there's nothing like it. And that's what makes it all worth it. It's the best part about what I do.
That's wonderful. Every life has its unique story, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Wonderful. Let's shift a moment here and talk about, I think you have some interesting stories, and pick out maybe one or two, and that is describe a hardship or life challenge that you rose above and can now say, because of that challenge, because of that hardship, you're a stronger, better person because of it.
Okay. This is a tough one, because you're like, well, how deep should I go? Do I really want to tell them about this? Or do I really want to tell them about that? I'll start here. I was listening to a podcast I like to watch too, called Third and Longhorn. It's about the Longhorn football team, mostly just Longhorn sports in general. Old football players are talking, and they interview folks, and they were interviewing someone that worked in the football department on the health science side of it. And she said something that surprised me. I thought it was genius. She says, "Oh, I love failures."
Wow.
Oh yes, I look for them, and I was like, whoa, because it's when you fail, it's when things are hard that you have the most growth. Yeah, and I mean that's just I don't know why it's that way. Sometimes I got a little question out there with God. Why couldn't we start at the finish line? But sanctification growth is obviously a part of suffering and pain. And when you're a new lawyer, nothing. You always these books you read that you can't even really put together. You don't know your way to the courthouse or nothing. And they say, well, fake it till you make it. And so you gotta say yes to the case and try it and learn from it. And so I'm still, even though I'm in a place in my practice where I've really limited what I do, I can look back and see, okay, when I first did this thing, I did not know what I was doing. It was hard. Kept me up at night worried about the results. I would wake up in a fit thinking, oh, I forgot to do this, and run. I have to go back to the office and do that. That still happens. And that's part of life. And you've got to be okay being uncomfortable to grow. Because now that I've done 100 probates, I'm like, oh yeah, just do this, you know, and because I know exactly what to do. I've done it before, but that first one, I had no idea. And I was reading the book, and you're trying to call this person and ask that, you know, and so being a lawyer, I'm sure just like any business owner, whenever you grow, now you're doing taxes, now you've got employees, now you're figuring out your website, all of that stuff. There's ways you can learn it, but you've got to, and that's hard. And it's an accomplishment to do so, you know? And then after you've done it, you're stronger. And every life hardship's like that. I can look back at some of the personal hardships I've had, and I would not have chosen them, but I certainly can know that I'm stronger because of them. And I've got this kind of weight that exudes, and I'm not going to be moved on some things that I might have been when I was 15. I'm like, well, that doesn't bother me now. You know, I've matured.
That's good. I guess there's a phrase I hear, and maybe you've heard this as well, some people go through things and they become bitter, but I'm hearing you didn't become bitter, you just became better at what you do. And it's a care for people that drives you forward, right?
Yeah. My father was raised in the South in Crockett, and there was a black woman that kept their house, and her name was Hattie Mae. And she said, John Caton, be yourself, but be your best self.
Wow.
And that's something that stuck with me on that whole better, bitter thing, because there are real questions about why God has arranged our lives this way, why he allows suffering.
Yeah.
When he obviously intervenes in human events, he's all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving. Well, why did he let this happen?
Yeah.
How can I call him friend? How can I say I shall not want if this thing has happened?
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that, and I don't know that anyone does. And however, we still have a choice to make.
Yeah.
What do we do in that not knowing? Do we become bitter or do we become better?
Yeah.
And well, I can be my best self. And that's something we fail at moment by moment, but we keep getting back up and trying again. And part of being your best self is just making that decision to keep going.
Yes.
And keep trying and live another day and smile at somebody, pet a dog.
Keep giving.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
What's one thing that you would wish our listeners would know about your business? Let's just pretend we're going up an elevator, we're going up 12 floors, and we have just a few moments of time. We're going up now. What is it that you would want them to know before they get off the elevator? What is it about Bradley Lingold, Redbird Law? What distinguishes you, or what sets you apart from others? Not in a braggadocious way, but get into the heart of that central message that you carry in your heart.
Well, I think one common misconception about the practice of the law, and people, oh, he's a lawyer, he went to all this school, whatever. I'm accessible. Sometimes people are scared to talk to an attorney. Oh, we didn't do this. We didn't make a will. We didn't plan. We should have. And there's this embarrassment. There's this, why didn't? Well, let me tell you, you are not alone. There are so many people that didn't do this or that maybe they should have done or whatever. That's just life. But you come talk to me, we can figure it out. We can make it better. And then the other thing I'll say to that is a little planning can go a long way. If you come ahead of time and say, let's figure this out, then you may have just saved yourself. With a stitch in time saves 9. There's really 9 stitches you may save yourself by just taking that one. Yeah, that one's hard to take.
Yeah.
You got to stop everything, go do it. Oh man, I hate stopping my life to even think about. Sometimes people don't want to think about their death. I get that, but it's if you do that one thing. But my mother had a friend, and that old church lady, and she said, well, what are you doing this week? And she said, oh, I'm going to take care of my estate. I'm planning my will and all that. And my mom said, well, that's good. I'm glad you're doing that. And she said, it's the only decent thing to do. I can see her saying it.
Oh, wow. I like that. The only decent thing to do. It's great to have that perspective. Let me ask you another question that I haven't necessarily prepared you for, but I think you'd be good in answering this. Can you share a success story where your guidance benefited somebody in their lives in any of the areas that you do? Any success story that you did because of the counsel that you were able to bring, it really brought them a measure of success or peace, or just guided them through a difficult time?
Absolutely. Well, one thing, and not to be too specific, but one thing that happens in this room we're sitting in quite a bit is there'll be a husband and wife, and it's usually the wife will breathe a sigh of relief when they're signing their documents. And maybe they weren't even conscious of the burden that was, we don't have this taken care of.
Yeah.
But there's just this great relief that comes over. I've taken care of my kids. I've planned for, my husband made all this money, or he's got this house, or what, is it coming to me? Am I going to be taken care of? All of that gets just whooshed away, and people walk out with, I mean, it's priceless.
It is priceless.
A personal story is funny, but my wife likes to go to the doctor. I was a doctor's child. I never went to the doctor. If I got injured, I mean, I busted my head open. He just tied my hair together and seal it up, slap me on the butt. But she wants to go to the doctor. And for the longest time, I'd fight her on it. I was like, babe, well, it's going to be a couple $100. Do we really need to go to the doctor? Just wait a couple days. You'll be fine. But I've learned that if I say, oh, yes, you should definitely go, then she goes and she comes back happy. Yeah. Because the doctor has told her, you've got this. Just take this. Yeah. And there's a price that I'm willing to pay now for peace.
Peace of mind, yeah.
Yep.
Peace, yeah.
And that's what I see happen. And then on the flip side of that, and now I've been doing this pretty strong for 4.5 years, the probate estate planning side of things. I'm getting people now that where their spouses or their children are calling me, you prepared my mother's estate plan.
Wow.
Is there anything else I need to do? And I look it up. I said, oh, what we did, transfer on death deed. Let me know if there's any bank account that she forgot to change a beneficiary designation. But otherwise, no, you're done. We took care of it all ahead of time. And that's the last I hear from them.
Yeah, that's priceless, right?
That's priceless.
A wise, sage voice, giving him counsel, guiding him through sometimes a very difficult emotional time in their juncture of life, right?
Absolutely. I can take that off their plate. Yeah. In fact, I had some people come in. We found mom dead yesterday.
Wow.
And they came in the next day. They walked into my office, and my assistant wasn't here, so I met them, and I sat down with them. We closed the door, and I said, hey, I'm really sorry. And then, well, what do we need to do? I'm like, well, you're talking to the funeral home. That's good. You did. And I said, what about the legal side? I said, the legal side's taken care of. Your mother did a transfer on death deed. She put you on the bank account. There's nothing that needs to be updated as far as title's concerned. You don't have, this particular person didn't have any siblings. She was the sole beneficiary. But even if she would have, y'all aren't fighting over mom's jewelry. We don't need to see the judge or anything. You just go back and grieve and figure out a way to pay for the funeral and set up, have a nice service somewhere.
That's love right there.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking ahead, planning ahead.
Yeah, their mom did that for them. Yeah. And I got to help.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Well, tell our listeners a little more how they can contact you, Bradley, and contact your partner. What's the process? What do they need to do to reach out to you?
Absolutely. The best way is probably to give us a call, because then we can say, come in on this day at this time and send us the deed in the email so I can look at it ahead of time. Send us your current estate plan so I can review it before our meeting. But you call 512-303-4631, and it'll either be Deborah Donegan, my assistant, or myself answering the phone, and we'll set you up with a spot. The other way is to go online to redbirdlaw.com. We've got a website. You can email us from that. You can see our contact information, hear this podcast maybe, and find us. The final way, and we don't mind if you just want to walk up. We're at the corner of Main Street and Chestnut in downtown Bastrop. Yeah. There's a food court back behind us. You can park over there, get a cup of coffee, walk up, say hi. I've been known to play a game of checkers with somebody, or share a cup of coffee. But you can come in and talk to Deborah and get an appointment, and we'd love to have you.
That's good, Bradley. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure sitting with you, looking at your smiling face. You're very authentic, and I appreciate the heart behind your practice. It really comes through in vivid color. Thank you, Bradley, for being here.
Well, thank you for your kind words, and you're very welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbors of Texas podcast. To nominate your favorite local business to be featured on the show, go to goodneighborsoftexas.com. That is goodneighborsoftexas.com. We look forward to connecting good people with great businesses.